tomorrow, Ohio State and Penn State will battle it out in the shoe. It's a matchup, a top 10 matchup once again. The Buckeyes won one earlier this season. Will they win another top 10 game? We'll discuss that today on Locked On Buckeyes.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Buckeye fans? Welcome back for another episode of Locked On Buckeyes for the Locked On Podcast Network. I am your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. It is Friday, October 20th in the year 2023, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Joining us for today's show, it's Mo Murphy, the host of the Up in Flames podcast. He's also a member of the Off the Ball Network. Mo is no stranger to Locked On Buckeyes, and he's on the show quite a bit throughout the season. Earlier this week, we got our guy Jeff Hunt on the show for a couple shows. Had to get my guy Mo Murphy on the show the day before Ohio State and Penn State battle it out in the shoe. Mo, welcome back to the podcast.
Oh, I'm always honored to be on Locked On Buckeyes. And then, you had Jeff on twice this week, got me to finish out the week. I'm like, oh, this is locked and loaded. This tells you everything you need to know about how big this matchup is in Columbus on Saturday.
You're exactly right. The magnitude of what happened with the guest list for the week is one thing. But thinking about the battle the Buckeyes and the Nittany Lions will have tomorrow is another. This is the game, Mo, you and I both had this game circled on our calendar prior to the start of the season. Every year, Ohio State, Penn State is one of the best games in the sport year in and year out. And tomorrow, I expect the same type of game, a battle. Two of the best teams in the country, two teams that have good quarterbacks, that have good defenses, that can do some things offensively. And I'm excited for this matchup. We can talk about it. I've talked about it all week. It's time to almost stop talking. It's time to let these boys battle it out in the shoe.
Yeah, 100%. And there's two things about this game that's really crazy. First off, this is the best defense of the Ryan Day era since 2019. And that was basically a defense he was still working with, off of Urban Meyer's recruiting. Us being elite defensively, I think is a huge shock to me, honestly. I thought we'd be middle of the pack and thought that's all we needed to be. And then there's just one gripe I have about this game. And I talked about this on Phil Stormer's the college football podcast I do. This game being at 12 o'clock is criminal. This is a nighttime game in Happy Valley, the whiteout. It's perfect for TV.
Yeah.
A nighttime game, the blackout is perfect for TV. So I think this game, taking that away, and that's been kind of the aspect of the game for the past few years, I think it's criminal to put us on 12 o'clock.
It's a marketing thing by Fox where they have done a great job with that, and I understand why they want that 12 noon window. I don't, from a fan in me, I don't agree with it at all. I would say, hey, regardless of who's playing at 7:30 or 8, whatever time you want that primetime game to start, regardless of who's playing, we got the best game of the day. We can compete with whoever and still do massive numbers. One, it's Ohio State, Mo. Everybody knows Ohio State brings eyeballs no matter what channel or station or streaming platform they're on. But then it's Ohio State, Penn State in any given year. Doesn't matter who's on the other side, who's the quarterback is for Penn State. You know it's going to be a good guy. Know it's going to be a good game. Drew Aller's a dude, man. He is a really good quarterback. So add all of those different storylines and him being an Ohio kid who didn't commit to Ohio State, all of these storylines are here. I am definitely one that believes, like you, this game should not be at 12 noon. It will be at night. But with it being a 12 noon game, it might be something that the players, the coaches, they all enjoy and prefer the earlier kickoffs versus the later ones. What are your early thoughts? Don't give me a prediction yet, Mo. Right. What are your early thoughts about what we might see tomorrow?
Physical.
Yeah.
Low scoring. And when I say low scoring, I mean for teams like Ohio State. This isn't going to be a 13-10 type of game, but I think physical and low scoring. I think points come at a premium and mistakes come at a high price. And I think this game might come down to who makes the mistake first. And if you're Ohio State and Kylemcord throws an early interception, you're nervous. If you're Penn State and you march down the field and you fumble the ball, or Drew Allard throws an interception trying to pick on Denzel Burke, you're nervous because that one turnover, this could be a game where there's nothing but one turnover and the better defense created the better play, but that tells the rest of the game, gives momentum to the other side. And one thing you don't want to do is give up. Like, you don't want to give up no momentum one way or the other, especially if I'm Penn State playing on the road. We know how hard it is to play on the road in college football, especially within conference, especially big time top 10 matchup on the road. Like, the environment is always, I mean, especially in Columbus, like they know their advantage in Happy Valley when you come. And if this was in Happy Valley, we know they would have the advantage as far as home field, hostile environment. But I think Ohio State's really going to show up. It just was interesting to me on Tuesday that Ryan Day was very big on how I read it being younger. His pitch was kind of want the older traditional fans to stay at home. And I want the frat boys and the guys who don't mind being drunk by 12 o'clock and everybody who roots for Ohio State with no sense and is going to bring as much energy as possible. That's who I want at this game. And that's who I want to create a hostile environment. So I do think, like, him mentioning, you know, the environment and creating it as hostile as, I think he was talking to the younger crowd and kind of like, hey, traditional fans, watch this from home because this needs to be the one. And that's kind of been our thing, is the way Ryan Day been fired up all year. I think he just wants to rock with that energy in the top 10 matchup. And who can match that energy? The younger generation more than the old traditional fans that are already tired of Ryan Day, essentially.
Mo, my thoughts about this game, I don't need to see more from Kylemcord. I just think this is going to be somewhat of a coming out party. We all talk about what he did during that final drive with the completions he had to Fleming and Harrison Jr. and Abuka. And I think maybe Cade Stover got in that mix as well during that drive. Not exactly sure if he was one of those guys, but that drive was one thing. There were a lot of things that went wrong during that drive. I don't know the last time I saw a game, and that was probably the first one ever in my lifetime, where I think it was like a minute and a half left or 60 seconds, whatever it was, less than 2 minutes left. The Buckeyes ran 15 plays, bro. Like, out of all those throws, the Buckeyes ran 15 plays. And some of the reasons that there were 15 plays were due to errors that Kylemcord had. Mm-hmm. So tomorrow, and I'm looking at him specifically and saying, is this his coming out party where he is showing everybody in the country that he is in game number 7, making strides in the right direction to be a better all-around quarterback? He can make the throws. Sometimes he makes some poor decisions. But I think tomorrow's one of those games where he can show everybody, not just on the final drive against Notre Dame, but for all 4 quarters, the Buckeyes can rely on him to get the job done.
You know what he has to prove? He has to prove that when he throws to Marvin Harrison Jr., he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. That connection, obviously, from high school, they won, 3 state championships, I think, in a row together. So I understand all that. I understand that chemistry. But, like, he throws to Marvin Harrison Jr., and, I mean, you or me could probably throw to Marvin Harrison Jr. and look like best quarterbacks in the country as well. But, like, it's when he's taken away. And what do you think a team like Penn State's going to plan on doing? Take him out of the game. Very tough assignment, easier said than done. You can plan to take him away all you want, but a guy like that, he's just that good. But can you make those passes to Emeka Egbuka? We need to use Emeka Egbuka more down the field. Like, I'm not, and I know he was injured against Purdue and didn't play. I understand that. But I'm not understanding why Marvin Harrison Jr. is our home run, Mr. Everything. And it's like, hey, Egbuka, we're going to use you like your Jalen Waddle. Like, we're going to do a screen pass and go make a 20, 30-yard run out of it. Instead of, Egbuka's been a guy who used down the field. I mean, look at his numbers last year. Like, he was a big play guy. And so it's like we minimized him. We tried to up Julian Fleming. And it's this weird thing with Ryan Day that I think he cares about people's draft stock. And it's only because the way he uses certain people at certain times. Like, I think he protected CJ Stroud for the draft. Now look at him in the NFL. Dude's just been cut loose. And, best quarterback Ohio State's ever had. Emeka Egbuka coming into the season, one of the 2 best wide receivers because the best was on on his team. Now you're like, it seemed like he's trying to implement Julian Fleming more because Emeka Egbuka, we know he's going to go to the NFL. He's going to go the first round. He doesn't have to do much. He's proven what it needs to be proven. So now let's get Fleming in the NFL. I really think the way he uses guys, he cares about that. Like, I really think so. And I'm convinced because all of a sudden Emeka Egbuka is not a downfield threat and we're just using him in the screen game in short little 2 or 3 yard slants and hoping he takes it to the house when he's shown you he could do. He's a Swiss Army knife, and he'd be the best receiver on the team if the best receiver on the team was not named Marvin Harrison Jr., and he would be just as good. So I get the question and why we use certain guys the way we do, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And I think it has everything to do with boosting the guy up and putting players in the NFL, because if you can add, look at all the wide receivers and all the running backs and quarterbacks and stuff that I got on my resume that go to the NFL, that can be looked past some of the big-time losses that you take in your career.
Mo mentioned Egbuka. Mo also mentioned how Penn State might be able to take Marvin Harrison Jr. out of the game. We're going to dive into more of that storyline next on Locked On Buckeyes. This episode is brought to you by Betterhelp. Sometimes in life, we're faced with tough choices, and the path forward isn't always clear. Whether you're dealing with decisions around career, relationships, or anything else, therapy helps you stay connected to what you really want while you navigate life, so you can move forward with confidence and excitement. Trusting yourself to make decisions that align with your values is like anything. The more you practice it, the easier it gets. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnCollege today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnCollege. This episode is also brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Once again, visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. So Mo, you mentioned that Egbuka missed the game against Purdue. This might be the first time I talk when we mentioned a Buckeye injury. Henderson has not come up this season. It's not because Henderson's missed a lot of games, but going back to last year, he did miss some time. So anytime I think about injuries at Ohio State, Henderson's name is right there because the durability of him on the football field is always one where I wonder, can he handle 20 carries a game? Can he handle 15 carries and 5 catches? So I wonder that with Henderson. But for the injuries at Ohio State, he mentioned Egbuka missed a game against Purdue. Not sure if he's playing against Penn State on Saturday. Henderson missed a game against Purdue, and I believe the week before as well. Mayan Williams missed the game a week ago. Chip Trainum left the game a week ago. Denzel Burke left the game a week ago. Like, these injuries just keep mounting up, and it's getting kind of odd to see a team over and over, back-to-back seasons, have issues with the running back durability, primarily Williams and Henderson. Now, Chip Trainum got that hit. He left the game, fell down on the field. I don't know if they saw that on TV or not, but he got hit on the sideline, ran back toward the middle of the field, fell down, and got helped off the sideline. And so with the injuries at Ohio State, and go back to Harrison Jr., if Egbuka's not out there and the Buckeyes want to roll out Julian Fleming and Xavier Johnson, to me, Mo, I don't know how you feel, but to me, that plays into the Penn State secondary plan of, if you're going to roll out Fleming and Xavier Johnson, we're just going to double Harrison Jr. because you can't rely on the other guys to consistently catch the ball. That's kind of how I view things right now with that position. How do you view things if Egbuka can't go tomorrow?
So I've been really high on this guy. Me and my dad talk Ohio State all the time. He had a couple big plays against Purdue late in the game, and I understand it was against Purdue. Double Marvin Harrison Jr. because Emeka Egbuka's not playing if you want to. Number 17 on the other side, Carell
Oh my
Tate.
gosh. Oh my gosh.
He's a guy.
Yes.
He's a guy, and we've prepared him for this. Like, we've prepared him for it. You never know if Ibuka comes out or if Julian Fleming gets hurt or, God forbid, Marvin Harrison Jr. gets hurt. They've been just stashing him. They've been stashing them. We've let a lot of guys play. And think about it. In some of the blowouts, how come Carell Tate didn't play that much? We've been stashing them. Brian Hartline had a smile on his face addressing who would be there in place of Emeka Ibuka before the Purdue game. He had a smile on his face. We don't want to reveal that. We've kept him in hiding for a situation like this. And Marvin Harrison Jr. said preseason, Carell Tate today, before the season, is better than Marvin Harrison Jr. was going into last year. He said it. Nobody asked him to say it. He said it. He made a statement. That's saying we have a guy. I was the best wide receiver in the country last year, and going into the season, this guy's better than me. So double him if you want to. I think this is a Carell Tate coming out party. I think he's another guy who has some rapport with Kylemcord only because in those last couple drives, I know the game was out of hand, but at the same time, like Carell Tate wide open, didn't miss him on the dot. I mean, Carell Tate could have scored if he wasn't so worried about getting hawked in and fumbling the ball, and that's fine. Protect the ball. We still ended up scoring on that drive anyway, but he could have just not looked back and, but freshman in the moment. This is the biggest play so far of my career in my freshman season. Don't want to botch this. I might have a big opportunity next week, which is now this week, to play against Penn State and really showcase what I could do. So I'm not too concerned. And with Xavier Johnson, I think he's just the Swiss Army knife. You put him in the backfield, you're going to put him in the slot. Maybe you line him up on the outside. He had a couple plays where he beat some corners deep, just missed them. And it was more Xavier Johnson's fault when he dropped that deep pass than it was Kylemcord. He threw it on the money. Xavier Johnson didn't adjust his body right. Hey, all's forgiven when you win. Big, nobody cares. Those are just little mistakes to point out. But yeah, I thought, like, if you think doubling Marvin Harrison Jr. and like these plethora of wide receivers that we have aren't good enough to make some plays and beat you, then I think that's where you would sadly be mistaken. I just think Penn State has good enough corners where they could put them on islands against Emeka Ibuka and Marvin Harrison Jr. and at least hold their own. The last thing I'll say is, all I'm going to say is every time a guy was supposed to hold his own against Marvin Harrison Jr., he was a first-round projected corner, Joey Porter Jr. got cooked.
Yes.
And so did Kelee Ringo, to the point Kelee Ringo got drafted in the 6th round because of his performance. Every question you had about him was exposed against Marvin Harrison Jr. So this is a guy who doesn't shy away from the big moments and the big-time matchups.
You are correct, Mo. You mentioned Tate. This is a game to me that if you want to just pass the ball and get guys open, bring in Carell Tate. Take out Xavier Johnson. Take out Julian Fleming. And give me Brandon Ennis. For some reason, to me, I have a belief in Ennis. Even though he's a freshman, I have a belief in Tate. We've seen it a little bit more than Ennis. But that number 11 cat, maybe it's a number 11 receiver at Ohio State. Maybe it's something special about that. But you got to get these two guys on the field. It's very similar to how we see some of the freshmen that are on defense that get out there and they don't look like freshmen. Tate and Ennis don't look like freshmen when they're on the field. A guy who I think needs to see the field tomorrow in some capacity. Not sure if it's a starter or not sure if it's in a 50-50 role with the other guy in his position. Dallin Hayden. Ryan Day discussed
starting running back. What are we talking about? Starting running back.
Oh, you say starting running back?
Yeah, he should be starting. I mean, because I don't think Chip Traynham comes back from a
concussion.
I don't know. He's a concussion. I feel like it's a little sticky.
So to me, I don't know if it's a protocol by the Big Ten or Ohio State. To me, if you have a concussion, you automatically miss the next game. And I don't care if it's high school, NFL, college. To me, those things are so tricky and they're hard to diagnose. You got to miss a game, bro. Your head and that messing with your dome in that way, that could lead to years and years of permanent damage.
Yeah, I think I fully agree. So I think my thing was last week, and I know it's against Purdue. I hate doing this, but at the same time, when talent is talent, and Dallin Hayden proved he could play last year.
Yeah, he did.
He played really well last year. So did Chip Traynham. So I don't want to if Chip Traynham could go, I don't want to just throw him to the side.
Right.
But I think that duo of Dallin Hayden and Xavier Johnson was way more dynamic than people want to give credit for.
Yes,
because it's Purdue. But the way you were able to use them, and Dallin Hayden can run between the tackles and he can run outside and get positive yards. He's what you want what Travion Henderson is. And what Mayan Williams is supposed to be. Mayan Williams is supposed to be the guy to get between the tackles. He's not shifty on the outside, but he'll get you that 4th and 2. You give it to Mayan Williams. I think Dallin Hayden can do both. I think, and then you use Xavier Johnson to catch out the backfield and run on the outside as well. I think that 1-2 punch is the best opportunity you have to expose Penn State's defense a little bit, because I think Hayden's diverse enough, dynamic enough to do it in between the tackles and run on the outside. But then we know Xavier Johnson, you could think he's just going for a screen pass and take it 30, 40 yards down the field. So I think that should be the 1-2 punch on Saturday. And it's no diss to what we have, but if you're injured and guys step up in injury, sometimes you might lose your spot. And I don't want to come in here with anybody that's not 100%. Hayden and Xavier Johnson are 100% for the backfield. If we lose, we lose. But I don't want to be compromised and finally lean on Dallin Hayden late in the third quarter because you realize Travion Henderson and Mayan Williams can't go. Do not make that mistake. Play your best players. Play your best players.
I agree with you. You got to do what's needed to win. To me, and Ryan Day mentioned that, it was very odd. Ryan Day mentioned redshirting Dallin Hayden. Then a few days later, he had to play Dallin Hayden, and Dallin Hayden showed that he should not be on the bench as a running back. He should be on the field as a running back. It was really odd that happened in the same week. But when it comes to Hayden, to me, he is going to really help this offensive line and Kylemcord be more comfortable in the offense. Because I went back and watched a lot of the Purdue game. Bro, those O-linemen are doing a whole lot better. There was a run that Hayden had to the left side of the Buckeyes O-line. And Jeff mentioned this when he was on the show earlier this week. You pull your backside guard and tackle. And I look up, the hole was big, but quickly you saw Matt Jones come around, get his guy. You saw Josh Fryer come around quickly, get his guy. I'm like, oh, maybe all those O-linemen needed was a guy who ran in the hole and followed what the play was supposed to be. Now, granted, they haven't been great all year. They're getting a whole lot better. I won't say they're as bad as some people say that they are currently, but the O-line will benefit from Dallin Hayden being on the field as well.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you could just sometimes when you're too dynamic or sometimes when you get let off the leash a little bit, like a Travion Henderson, like, hey, we trust your athleticism, we trust your skill set. You go off script a little bit, and sometimes going off script can be detrimental, especially when you're trying to build your offensive line's chemistry. This is basically a brand new offensive line, got a couple transfers in, a couple new starters. Like, this is a team that needed chemistry throughout the season to continuously get better week in and week out. And I think they've done that, but it looked like everything was put together on Saturday. Yeah. Again, I know, for reference, it was against Purdue. I get that. But a lot of times Ohio State finds themselves in dogfights in games like that against Purdue, at Purdue. Every coach, the past like 6 coaches, has lost to Purdue at least once, besides Ryan Day. When they brought that stat up, I was a little nervous because I was like, this is it. Like, you know, it was almost the 5-year anniversary to date when we got whooped in the same stadium. They were bringing up how every coach has lost to Purdue at least once. And so I'm like, today is Ryan Day's turn and all hell breaks loose in Buckeyes country. But instead, we just handle business from beginning to end. So,
guys.
Oh, no, I was just saying. So, you know, like, hey, Ryan Day might be ducking the Ryan Day ducks the fact. All I'll say is they put out, we should never think we're going to get upset by a team that ain't got a number next to him because he's 33-0 versus unranked teams. So as much as we kill Ryan Day, when he's supposed to take business, he takes care of business. But the betting guys will give me the against the spread record, and I don't care.
Will Ryan Day take care of business tomorrow against Ohio State? You've heard my prediction. We'll dive into more about why I think what I think, and we'll get to hear Mo's as well. It's coming at you next on Locked On Buckeyes. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Birddogs. As the weather fluctuates, some days it's cooler, some days it's warmer, and you're trying to find something fresh to add to your wardrobe that also allows you to be comfortable no matter what the temperature is. On your search, you might be struggling to find something that is fitting what you're looking for. Look no further. Our friends at Birddogs are here to help you accomplish your goal. Birddog stretch khaki shorts are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you a truly sculpted look. Birddog shorts do the exact same thing as Lululemon, but fit way better. Birddogs uses anti-stink, sweat, wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege or enter promo code Locked On College for a free white tech hat with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege or use promo code Locked On College for a free white tech hat. You won't want to take your Birddogs off. We promise you. Mo, this might be one of the odd shows, talking about Ohio State, Penn State, that we don't talk about the defense very much. We talked about Kylemcord, injuries on the O-line. Denzel Burke was hinted. To me, Mo, for Ohio State to win this game, the defense has to do what it's done all season.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what's crazy is I think last year, I was on the show after the Penn State game.
Mm-hmm.
I almost want to say you did a recap, or it was like the following week, but I want to say it was the recap, and I jumped on. And I think we're leaning on the same guy needs to have the same big game he had last year. JTT. I think what he did last year, I think he's been fairly quiet this year. And it's something tells me that maybe Penn State is just his team that he just comes to play for and wreaks havoc all day. And so I just think because, yeah, we did do it. So anyway, I don't want to get too off track, but I think JTT is the biggest part of this defense only because we haven't let up big plays too much. Our secondary is pretty solid with a shutdown corner on one side who can shut down one side of the field. I haven't heard or seen anything that he won't play.
Right.
So
right.
I'm assuming he'll be there just a little banged up, cautious, up big against Purdue. Maybe don't go back out there. Bigger fish to fry, obviously coming up tomorrow on Saturday. But I think JTT, and I think if he gets going, that opens up for Mike Hall in the middle. I think that opens up for Jack Sawyer. And if I'm not mistaken, Jack Sawyer and JTT shared a sack where they absolutely murdered Hudson Card last week.
They did.
I think we need a few of those this week, but I think I wouldn't mind a JTT picking about 2 or 3 sacks, another breakout game to show us he's a guy, and I think it's possible. I don't know. I guess that's the guy I would pick because he did it against the same team last year, but he's been fairly quiet, and we know how good he could be, and he started showing it against Purdue, so I think he's revving up for, like, the last leg of the season to really be able to, like, all right, don't forget about me. NFL scouts, don't forget about me, and don't forget about us being able to be elite on the defensive line and hopefully try and win the national championship.
Mo, I am watching another guy on the defensive line, and it's not JT. Now, I watch JT all the time. Like, I'm a big JT guy.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Hall Jr., to me, with the way that him and Tyleik Williams will rotate one guy, depending on the formation, strong side, things like that, they'll switch sides of the line. I am watching Mike Hall because Tyleik Williams has been so dominant this year. He's automatically going to get some extra attention. Mm-hmm. And Mike Hall's, his quickness, his ability to, his swim moves are really nice. He has a nice spin move as well. I'm like, oh, dude, at one point, his teammates nicknamed him Baby Aaron Donald. Now, I understand that's saying a whole lot. You don't see many guys his size at Mike Hall doing what he does at the D tackle position. And I think tomorrow, if you want to really disrupt Drew Aller's vision and mess up the pocket that Penn State's O-line is trying to create and form for their quarterback, getting that pressure up the middle consistently with both D tackles, we know they can do it. Like, Tyleik's been a dog this year. But Mike Hall Jr., to me, this is his game. Some people have said he's not living up to what he was supposed to be at Ohio State. Okay, cool. Like, you can make those statements. Let's remind everybody, Mike Hall, who you are and what you can do on that football field. Yeah,
with Mike Hall Jr., my question isn't him. It's the coaching staff. Are we not using this dude right? And the only reason I say that is because when he plays a lot, he makes a lot of plays, and you hear his name on TV called all the time.
Yes.
But then he'll go and, like, he doesn't play too much, and you don't hear his name because he's not on the field. And then what made me think about that and your point, like, it's funny that you bring it up because I was thinking about this earlier on in the week. I'm looking at scouting reports. I'm looking at mock drafts. Like, it's that time of the year.
Yeah.
You guys got Mike Hall Jr. being a first-round pick. I'm not surprised, but his teammates think he's Baby Aaron Donald. The NFL draft guys and all these professionals that work in analyzing these dudes think this is a first-round talent, and the team will be lucky to have him in the interior line in the next level in the first round. But then, like, he's consistently, and it's not that he's not producing. It's like he's not even consistently on the field. Like, why is this dude not playing 85, 90 snaps a game when everybody else in the world is telling us how good he is? You can't tell me it's something behind closed doors because it's not. Like, it can't be because when he does play great, you have nothing but great things to say about him. So I just wonder, like, is Jim Knowles not using him right? Like, should there not be a demand of just like, bro, put him on the field and let it be what it is? Like, I don't care about having an extra linebacker or whatever. This is not the time to get cute and try and out-athlete everybody. This is the time to put your best players on the field, and I think that's been one of the bigger problems with Ohio State, including defensively. As good as we've been, I think we could be better, but we don't always have our best players on the field.
You know, I thought they were going to learn a valuable lesson in Josh Proctor this year. Players make mistakes. It's a part of the game. Mm-hmm. They're human. Nobody is perfect. But letting Josh Proctor be Josh Proctor, we've seen a better version of Josh Proctor playing the best ball he's ever played, and he's on the field consistently. You would think, hey, do that for everybody. Let that rule be the same for everybody across the board. But Mo, clearly it's not. Mo, really quickly, I want to go over these predictions before we close up this show. I have not changed. Even now, I'm more confident than I was earlier when I first made the statement that I think Ohio State's going to win 24-21. I believe it all comes down to the defense once again. I made this statement earlier. Ohio State, yes, they won Notre Dame. Yes, they scored more points than the Fighting Irish. But the only reason they had a chance to win that game was because of the defense. They got the ball back for Ohio State. The defense in that game was huge. Yes, they gave up a lot of rushing yards. They held Sam Hartman to, I believe, 175 passing yards to date on the season. Only one quarterback has thrown for over 200 passing yards in a game against Ohio State's defense this year. I think that trend continues. I don't know how well Penn State's going to be able to throw the ball against Ohio State. Now, how well can Ohio State defend Penn State's rush attack? That's a different conversation, but I believe they'll be just fine. 24-21, Buckeyes win. I'm confident in that prediction, Mo. What's yours?
Yeah, I'm going to go Ohio State 27, Penn State 23. Think a little more points on the board. That 24-ish seems like a lot of people think they pick it one way or the other, but everybody has that 24 mark is the winner. And like I've seen 24-17 Penn State. I've seen 24-20 Ohio State. Everything, it seems like 24 is the mark for the winning team. And I understand that. I mean, saying 27-24, that could be you're in the predicament where the guy who picked Penn State to win 24-20, guess what? 27-24 because Ohio State got the ball back and was able to put the last touchdown up. So I think we're going to be able to put up enough points, obviously, by saying we're going to win. But I think there's going to be a little bit more bigger plays than people expect. There's going to be an aspect. It's going to be very fast and very slow. It's going to look like it might be a high-scoring affair, and the next thing you know, it calmed down. They might both come out and score a touchdown on the first drive immediately, and then the game kind of calms down from there, and now the defense is settled in and the environment settles in. But, yeah, I'm going to go Ohio State 27-24, and I'll do you one better. I think Kylemcord goes 21 for 31, 272 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Who are those touchdowns to?
Marvin Harrison gets one, Carell Tate gets one, and Cade Stover gets one.
Hey, Stover's been a dog.
He's going to be a big piece, and he's going to be – we beat Penn State if he opens up the middle of that field. And all I'm saying – that because you want to force McCord to throw it to the outside.
Yeah.
But essentially you do that if the middle of the field's not – Cade Stover has been eaten, so now you have to account for the middle of the field. And what is that? A tight end is a quarterback's best friend, but a tight end playing well and exposing the middle of that field is a quarterback's best friend and a wide receiver's best friend to make plays on the outside of the hashes. And I think he's going to be able to do that because he's done it up to this point this year. So I think he's throwing 3 touchdowns to 3 different receivers. I think Carell Tate and I say Carell Tate if Ibuka's not playing. I'm kind of assuming Ibuka's not playing. I haven't heard one way or the other. But I think Tate, Stover, and Marvin Harrison Jr. all get one. And I'm not sure. I think we get 2 field goals. I'm not sure we get a rushing touchdown, but they can run us down the field and Kylemcord finishes the drive off.
I'll make this prediction, and we're gonna get up out of here really quickly. If Dallin Hayden has 10 or more carries, he has at least 1 rushing touchdown. I think he is that key. He is that big, and I believe he is what Ohio State needs to make the next step in their offensive production this year. I'm going to close it out with that. That's all I'm going to say. You can follow Mo on Twitter, on X, at Mo_Cheese15. Follow me on the same platform at JSteven07. We're out of here on a Friday. The game is tomorrow. Locked on Buckeyes will be live tomorrow at the conclusion of the Buckeyes game against Penn State live, post-game show live right here on Locked on Buckeyes YouTube channel. Subscribe, hit that bell so you are notified when we go live. We're out of here on a Friday, Buckeye fans. We'll see you next time.